Stretching 72 miles along Florida's east coast is the Space Coast, otherwise called Brevard County. This county is home to the Kennedy Space Center, but it's also got some fantastic surfing. We're gonna go and get a taste of the waves right now before we head off birding. But let me tell you, this county's got some fantastic birds and some awesome wildlife. Let's go birding. Florida's Space Coast has some wonderful hidden gems when it comes to nature and wildlife. On this show, we're going to take you through some of these beautiful places, and we're going to start with Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. This is probably one of the better places in all of Florida to go and view a whole variety of wading birds, waterfowl, ducks, and other birds. There's a scrub jay right up here next to us. Canaveral National Seashore is one of the best places to see another Florida specialty bird, the Florida scrub jay. In fact, this bird is so special because it is Florida's only endemic bird species. And I've got one right here behind me. Look at this little beauty. Corvids are super intelligent birds, and you can see this from this Florida scrub jay right now. They're always so alert, so curious to any sound, any movement. And what these scrub jays will do in these family groups is they will forage looking for acorns, particularly acorns of the scrub oak. And they will find those acorns and they will stash them, bury them, and use them, those little larders, for later. When food is scarce, they'll come back and they'll dig up those acorns and they'll eat them. You can see what this Florida scrub jay is doing right over here, is he's actually collecting food from his larder here. And the food in this case looks like they are pieces of corn which people have fed to these Florida scrub jays. It's very important that we don't feed Florida scrub jays or wildlife of any kind, because you inadvertently affect their ability to naturally forage for food, but also you can do them harm by feeding them stuff that they don't normally feed on. So it's very, very important that you don't feed animals, and especially Florida scrub jays. If you happen to be in Brevard County, go and try find some of the longleaf pine forests, and you've got to get here early in the morning for one of North America's most endangered birds. In fact, the most endangered woodpecker in all of North America resides in these longleaf pine forests, the red-cockaded woodpecker. It's freezing cold here this morning, and these birds come up with the dawn. So we're waiting for the dawn here, waiting for the light, and trying to see if we can get a fix on some red-cockaded woodpeckers. We have a whole group of birders here from the Space Coast Birding and Wildlife Festival waiting for these birds to appear. Now these birds, because they're so endangered, are intensively managed. And wherever there's a cluster or a nesting chamber of one of these birds, you'll find a white ring around the tree. So we have found a cluster of trees here, all marked with the white rings, and we're going to wait for these birds to come out. This is a male red-cockaded woodpecker. Very misty still, a lot of mist coming through here. And it's early morning and he's poking his head out, trying to see if there's any danger around. He's probably going to come out goes. He just left. He's on the tree. On the tree. Look, look, look. Awesome. Up on the tree, on his own trunk. Come, 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 come. Got this very distinctive way of feeding. They'll put that bill under the bark, flick the bark everywhere, often raise their wings every now and again while they're feeding. You can see what the bird is doing now, is pecking at the tree, trying to release the sap. And the sap is very important because that dripping sap, which is really sticky, will protect the nest cavity from predators like rat snakes. So this, along with the Florida scrub jay, is one of the specialty birds of Brevard County or the Space Coast. This is one of its last strongholds in Florida, in Brevard County, Orange County, some of the other counties in the States. But this is great to see them right here in these longleaf pines.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, your world leader in optics since 1917, and by Florida's Space Coast, Orlando's closest beaches, and sponsored in part by Hobie Polarized Sunglasses, the world's best polarized sunglass.
This Birding from the Edge segment is brought to you by Nikon, manufacturers of the Edge line of optics.
We're here at Canaveral National Seashore on the Space Coast of Florida, and we're going to go and do some birding on the beach here and see if we can find any shorebirds. Now, it's really important when you go birding to always obey the laws. Let's go birding, and this is Birding from the Edge.
The Space Coast of Florida is such a spectacular birding location because it's right where the subtropics kind of merge with the temperate zone. So you've got the varieties of birds meeting in the middle here from both different regions. You've also got birds stopping over on their migrations from north to south. But for me, what really makes Space Coast so amazing are the specialty bird species. Birds like Florida scrub jay, red-cockaded woodpecker, and my personal favorite, the Mexican eagle, or better known as the Florida version of the crested caracara. This morning, we're at the 200-acre Vieira wetlands, slap bang in the center of Brevard County on the Space Coast of Florida. This is arguably the very best birding location in the state. This morning, we're heading out with a couple of the volunteers that work here to see what we can find. Let's go birding. Got an American bittern right over here in these reeds, and this is one of the target species here at Vieira wetlands. It's a bird that I've been wanting to film for a very long time. Although it's fairly common and widespread over North America, it's very, very tough to see. And Vieira wetlands, especially in winter when these birds migrate down from northern North America, is one of the best places to see American bittern. We've got it right here in front of us, and you can see what the bird is doing right now is it's actually starting to sky point or bittern right now. You can see it lifting its neck up like that. Putting its neck up. Oh, that is awesome. Oh, there he goes. Oh, it just took off. American bittern. We're going to go follow him. He's just landed over here, and hopefully we can get this American bittern to hunt. Now, American bitters are probably the best example in the animal world of a stand and wait predator. They're just going to stand dead still in the reeds there. They're going to have that bill facing down at their target. They've got those eyes situated on top of their heads there, and they're going to zero in on a minnow or an amphibian coming past them in the shallows. And then they're going to shoot that dagger sharp bill straight out, grab that minnow or that frog and gulp it down. In fact, there it goes. Look, 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 look. You can see the way it's pointing its headwards now. It's looking. There you go, bam, got it. Got that fish or that frog. I don't know what it was, I couldn't see, but got it straight away in its bill. Amazing example of patience in the natural world. Yes, American bittern right here at Vieira Wetlands. When birding Vieira Wetlands, don't ignore the other wildlife around here. This place is a very, very good home for several families of river otters. These little members of the weasel family can be found crossing the tracks here. You can see them swimming in the wetlands here, sometimes even catching food, basking on a rock or on a log in the sunlight. So keep your eye out for river otters when you come here. There are 13 species of otters worldwide. This is one of the smaller species of otter, the North American river otter. Let's see if we can go find one. These tracks here are super fresh. Look at this, right over all the tire tracks. Come here, come here, come here. Look here, look here. Look at these tracks. This otter has been running. This otter has been running. There's a hind foot, front foot. Been running across the road here. There he is, otter, 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 right here. We've got a river otter right here at Vieira Wetlands. What a spectacular little mammal to see while you're birding here. Here you've got bald eagles flying around hunting coots. We've got osprey all over the place. We've seen a peregrine falcon. We've seen crested caracara, the Florida version of the crested caracara here. A whole variety of waterfowl and a whole variety of wading birds. And bam, right there's an otter too. This is just an incredible wildlife experience. The Florida crested caracara is a super interesting bird because it has been isolated from the rest of the caracaras in Texas for about 12,500 years, around the time of the last glacial period. And at that time, between Florida and Texas was this whole mosaic of oak woodland and savanna, perfect habitat for crested caracaras. With global warming, that habitat disappeared, and these caracaras in Florida adapted to the prairie here. But they are nowhere common in Florida. Brevard County and Orange County are probably their strongholds, and there's only about 500 to 600 of these birds left in Florida, making it a threatened species here, whereas when you go to Texas, you'll find that they are fairly common. So we had a crested caracara at the Vieira Wetlands this morning, and it took off and flew towards this hospital. And here we are right in the hospital car park adjacent to the wetlands, and this crested caracara is up at the top admiring its reflection in the window. You can actually see he's preening now as well, looking at himself in the reflection, saying, hey, I look pretty good today, don't I? And if you look closely, you can see he's got a couple of bands on his legs. So this bird has been banded by somebody in the area, obviously monitoring the population of Florida crested caracaras in this area. Right here at the hospital. This is amazing. I wonder what that patient thinks in his bed, looking out the window. Ah, caracara! I'm nearly dying and there's a caracara!
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, your world leader in optics since 1917, and by Florida's Space Coast, Orlando's closest beaches, and by Audubon Guides, nature at your fingertips.
One of the not-to-be-missed events on the Brevard County social calendar is the Space Coast Birding and Wildlife Festival. This is the largest birding festival in the country, and it's been operating for 15 years. There are remarkable activities to be had here, over 200 of them in fact, from classroom presentations and field trips that take you out into the birding hotspots of the Florida Space Coast.
I think Space Coast, it has the two things that you absolutely need to get people excited about birds and birding. It's got just an abundance of birds, and I don't know what's in the water down here in Florida, but you can get so close to things. I mean, these spoonbills and woodstarts, and they're just right there. It's crazy. Plus, you got this community here in the Titusville area, Brevard, all these folks that care about their birds, care about their natural heritage, and they want to show it off. They want to share it. They've organized this thing, and it's just an absolutely ideal vehicle for an organization like the ABA that wants to promote birding to come in and just really, I think, make a difference for the local area, but for the international community too. Couldn't be better, and we couldn't be happier to be back.
Undoubtedly, the biggest attraction at the Space Coast Birding and Wildlife Festival is Jonathan Wood and Rachel Wood from the Raptor Project. Jonathan, what do you got going for us today here?
I have a big friend of mine. This is actually the largest falcon in the world, an Arctic gyrfalcon, and her name is Tundra, and she's going to be up in the air in a couple minutes here, but I'm also a master falconer, so she's got some interesting falconry equipment on her. She's got jesses, which are traditionally used for many, many years. Got a hood on her head. I'm actually going to unhood her right now so we can see what she looks like. You got to use your teeth when you're doing this because you got a bird tied up on one hand. And that is our beautiful falcon. She's on the roof. I'll tell you when she's heading in. Okay, she's heading in, and we're going to put this right on the ground, right where I had it, just like there. And that's it. It's a direct hit. We didn't actually plan that, but hang on there, gyrfalcon. Let me get you up here. They're fast with their feet sometimes.
Whoa! As always, Jonathan, a pleasure.
Great.
That was
Glad you stopped by for lunch, James.
Yeah, that was a
It's always
pretty
good to see you.
that was a pretty wonderful display. One of the neatest things to do on the Space Coast is to come and see the manatees here. This is Kennedy Point Yacht Club, and the manatees congregate here. There are 3 species of manatees worldwide. And this is the West Indian species of manatee. It extends all the way from the Caribbean, all the way up here, and parts of South America and Central America, and all the way up here into Florida. And this is pretty much the northernmost part of their range. Is the top part of Florida, a little bit further up the coast. But these guys can get to over 1,000 pounds, and they'll rear their pups and have their pups about once every 2 years. They'll have a baby. What spectacular, beautiful mammals right here on the Space Coast of Florida.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, the world leader in optics since 1917, and by Coleman, legendary quality innovative camping gear, and by Wingscapes, manufacturers of the Bird Cam.
One of the owls that is truly a film star is the barred owl. This owl is found right across the state of Florida, but it so happens that Brevard County is a very, very good location for these birds. We're here, I've got Robert, my buddy here. We're going to play the call here in urban Palm Bay in Brevard County, and we're going to see if we can lure in some suburban barred owls. Just come back over here, Robert, and get behind us here, and then we'll just play the call. Habitat here is perfect for them. We could get one of them coming in here. One of them's just flown in. Robert, come here. Come here. Right up in the tree here. He's just flown into the top of the tree. See if you can pan up. Get this guy. Come over here. Come over here. Through here. Yes. Come over here. Come over here. Look at that. Right up there. At the top of the tree. Oh, man. You got him, Rob? Wow, that is a barred owl right here, late afternoon in Palm Bay, urban environment. There are houses around here, but look at the spectacular habitat. We've got these big old trees, old oak trees with this old man's beard hanging down. Bam, we played that call, and within 10, 15 seconds, bam,
in comes a barred owl, in comes another one, bam! And they're sitting right up in this tree here. So you can hear these barred owls calling to each other here, right at the top of these big, big oak trees. Absolutely fascinating, with the female and the male duetting. The male with that deeper voice and then the female with the slightly higher pitched voice duetting and calling to each other right now. Here comes the male, he's coming in right now. He's just mating, he's mating with the female. We just got barred owls mating right here in the tree in the full sunlight. This is spectacular stuff. Oh man, that was awesome. Whew. Let me tell you something, that's birding. Fascinating stuff. Whew. Barred owl right here in Brevard County, Florida.